I'll be co-streaming these matches, like the promotion ones, all of them that I can. So that'll be at twitch.tv/Meteos, where I stream all the LCS games as well. So, just in case people aren't familiar.
Big fan, by the way. Favorite co-streamer.
Thank you. I'm sure you watch it.
All right, so...
Hello and welcome back to The Dive, driven by Kia Season 9, Episode 34, the return of Mark Zimmerman.
I'm back.
That's the biggest news. No other really big returning news, right, Meteos?
No, it's just Mark. I'm so glad he's here.
Mark's back on The Dive.
I'm a co-host again.
Permanent co-host.
Yep.
No, I am so incredibly happy that LCS is coming back. This league has been basically my entire adult life. I've worked here since day number one. I moved down to LA. I quit my entire history of my past life of being an engineer. Took a big risk to come down for video games for Riot in 2013. And I'm just, I almost had tears, when the LCS is coming back. The brand means a lot to me, so I think a lot of people are very happy. I mean, we could hear in the stadium when we did the announcement. Yeah. I think they cheered louder for LCS is coming back than for any of the plays all weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it was very happy to be able to finally announce it. I mean, much like you, I think I graduated, spent a couple months looking for a job before landing with a team, and then basically full adult life is LCS and NA esports. So I'm also very happy to have the LCS back. Meteos doesn't have a long history with the LCS. He's like a bandwagoner.
I wasn't here the first split. Cloud9 didn't get in until the second.
Yeah. So I think you're not an OG, really.
I think I casted you guys not getting in the beginning.
Well, okay, so I never missed. I wasn't part of the team that missed.
You weren't the cats.
Every single player on the original C9 failed the first promos on different teams, except I wasn't part of it. So it's clear where the credit
lies. And then suddenly 12.7 KDA superstar Zach Legend shows up, and they win a title.
Your words, not mine. But it's LCS has obviously been a huge part of everyone's lives. I think the viewers too. I still so many times when I meet fans at these events and stuff, people always bring up the early days of LCS and whatnot, and it hits so different because it was the first ever pro league like that to that scale, and so I think it just resonates with a lot of people, and there's a lot of good memories.
Yeah,
cool's coming back.
Let's be honest though, Mark. This year was really rough. This year sucked. The format was all over the place as well. People trying to keep track of everything. What went on?
Yeah, before I dive into that, just for anyone who missed the finals or the article and didn't read anything, because we did announce it, but then we didn't put the article out till the next day. So just to recap, the LCS is coming back, obviously, from that intro, but it's not just the brand coming back. That was one of the things that we definitely wanted to do more than just bring a brand back and staple it on top of all the things that you just highlighted as problems, because and then I think people would just start turning on the LCS brand if it still had all the problems that the LTA was having. So when we started making the look at what do we need to do for 2026, because 2025 is not going well, that was one of the things was we need to bring the league back, not just the brand back. And so that means for us in here in the North that we're getting the LCS back, and that means that we're getting the slots for Path to Internationals back, 2 for MSI, 3 for Worlds dedicated for LCS teams. That also means that there's not cross-conference play baked into the actual competitive calendar. So one of the reasons format struggled, which we can talk more about, but having to have enough cross-conference to feel like it is a noteworthy thing compresses the regional portion of play and creates all these how do you get through a regular season if you can't play everyone versus everyone? They're round robins are out the window, and that created a lot of problems too. So I think all these things are going away for next year, and it's going to be much closer to 2024, keeping some things from 2025, such as 3 splits, because First Stand will still be there next year. Lion, the stuff that was in the conference, the teams participating, the promo rel slot, all that stuff is staying for next year.
How early did you start thinking about this as you were going through this year?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, the year was a struggle. I'm an NA fan too. I'm an LCS fan, so obviously things were not going super well pretty quickly with the cross-conference moment in Split 1. And you saw us make a number of changes that were trying to like immediately band-aid fix between the splits. We talked about like more best of fives. It's so long ago, it feels like, but Fearless got like rolled out officially. You know, like we've been doing it for a whole year, so it kind of feels old almost to me now. It's just like the standard.
It's just always been like this.
Yeah, but you're like, wait a minute, that was like middle of this year. We just decided to keep Fearless, which we had.
Are we going to keep Fearless going forward?
Yes. So we'll talk a little bit more about 2026 formats as much as I can say about them currently. But yeah, Fearless is going to stay for global, and so we're going to try and mirror that and give teams the best opportunity for next year and stuff. But yeah, Fearless got rolled out. We tweaked our Split 2 calendar as a result. We added more days. We tried to do as many things as we could to keep up with what was going wrong. But like it was pretty clear, you know, that this was something that needed to be fixed at a deeper level than just like these kind of Band-Aid level fixes. And that's when working with like the global team to be like, okay, yeah, we're going to need more than just this. Like, what can we do to actually fix things for the future? And so I definitely went dark for a little bit. I know that was a thing, but it was like, I'm trying to, you know, we're working on those solves that will hopefully actually make people excited again and like make, you know, people reinvest in the league and watching it and stuff, and not just going out there and trying to be like, no, everything's fine, guys. You're like, there's more important work to be done at that point. So hopefully, back to being transparent and talking with you guys again. I'm happy because I was dark. I know I was dark, but
yeah, because one common sentiment I kind of heard was that like, so you started being commissioner in like 2024, and it got like really, really good reception with like all the changes to LCS. People were hyped about it because, you know, LCS has been going on for a while, and, you know, there's been ups and downs, but 2024 felt like a really good year. It was like, you know, a lot of people coming back to it.
The live patch was super good. The reduced champion select times, like we had a bunch of felt like wins.
Yeah, like and I think it was even just like the break between games was shorter, and so there were a lot of really great things. And then I think people might have almost felt betrayed coming into this year because it was like after finally getting momentum in what felt like, you know, there wasn't a lot of before that. You know, we had this like super crazy rebrand and, you know, a lot of changes that didn't necessarily land. And so I think I've definitely heard sentiment from fans that's like, you know, it can feel hard to invest in the league and be a fan of it when like everything's changing so often. So like what promises can you make to the fans for like stability, whether it's like, you know, what days you're going to be playing, the format? Because I think like the more turbulent that stuff is, it makes it really hard for people to stay invested, because I think there's a lot of LCS fans who might not even play the game anymore, but it's just been such a history for them. Like I know for me personally, like, you know, there are certain games that I watch or whatnot, or esports that I've like never play, but it's just the familiarity and the routine of it is nice. It's comforting. So I like, what can we promise to fans for LCS?
Yeah. Oh boy, a lot of things to say there. I think one, like the inconsistency is like multi-layered in a problematic way, honestly. You know, like formats, times, those are like almost like a tier down than like the other changes that have, I know, annoyed fans over the years, like weekdays, and then we're back on weekends, but then we have these gaps in our calendar. And like 2024 was a good year, but we had that problem then as well, where it's like we had weeks off in the middle of the season for scheduling reasons. So like I there's always like one step forward, one step back, and that is like the extra layer of pain point on top of just like, where the hell in the format are we, like, which happened this year. So like I think there's two answers to that. One is the like, we need to like the constant changing needs to be pulled back, and I think that's one of the big goals for next year, both on like the lower level like format stuff, but also on the upper level, is like this needs to have something that's going to roll forward for the future. So when fans buy in for 2026, it's not gone again in 2027. Is one of the big things. So that's obviously something. And then the formats themselves, like going to things that were used to fans historically, to have that kind of continuity of like simpler, straightforward formats, longer regular seasons, not knocking out the teams in 3 to 4 weeks again. First stand and the first split will probably have to stay shorter, just because it's a more compressed time before we can't even run a regular season before you have to be shipping teams off. But, you know, I think LCK Cup and the like more tournament structure, kickoff tournaments, which we've even had in the past, will be something closer to what that is. And then split 2 and 3 go back to like historically what was more like spring and summer. Pretty much like spring and summer is the goal.
How much of that has been figured out already? You know, you mentioned like, oh, the dark weeks and, you know, skipping stuff was a problem. Is there anything where you're like, we're definitely not going to be having these gap weeks, or we're
so like that actually happened this year. I know it's hard because the format was so confusing, but we actually had from when a split started to when it ended, there were no dark weeks, and we had a couple super weeks, but it was basically Saturday, Sunday every day, and that was one of the like goals, was to fix the scheduling problems from 2024 to 2025. It just gets lost in how many other problems were cropping up, but that's going to continue for 2026 as well. It's like currently as it's laid out, I shouldn't leak this. I won't leak this, but like it's looking really good. I'm confident, like
I won't leak this, but
I won't leak this, but it's looking good. No, we'll have hopefully an announcement with like the formats and everything in not too far off, but it's something where before saying this is 100% what's happening, you need to put the final tuning in. Obviously, a lot of things were being worked on over the last month to get even the announcement in place, and so there's a couple final pieces that are being put in place.
There were a lot of bad things about the format. Something that people do like, though, is promotion and relegation and the extra tension around, teams, playing for the extra slot and playing for their future. Is the promo relegation guest slot thing, is that going to stay in some form?
Yeah, for sure. That's not changing. So like I said, anything that's like kind of was in just the North will now continue in just the LCS with regards to like the teams participating and stuff. I mean, obviously 100 Thieves will be exiting the league and will be a new team joining soon. But
you want to leak that too?
Yeah, let me just drop that one while we're in there. Meteos before this was like, I know who it is. And I was like, you don't say anything.
I can see it. He
has a twinkle in his eye.
I won't make more work for our editor, I won't leak anything.
That was the real thing that pulled him back, not me. It was when the editor
Yeah.
like,
by the way, if you're watching this, he actually did leak it, and this is edited in over that. We made him do this afterwards, post episode. No.
yeah. But yeah. Promo rel is still going on. So this weekend, actually, if anyone wants to tune in, it's still called the LTA North Promotion Tournament for this year because we're still technically LTA through the rest of 2025. But it is promoting to LCS next year. And so DSG is trying to defend their slot.
I guess the other thing that came up, is everybody's happy that we're getting our Worlds slots back, but a lot of Brazilians are not happy. They are going to the one slot. And honestly, after seeing, some of our cross-conference, very recently, I was like, you know what? Maybe I would be okay with the last, third seed playing their second seed or something. At the beginning of Worlds this year, we have the extra fourth seed for LPL playing LCK. I mean, it's going to be super hype because it's T1 versus IG, but were there other considerations as far as like how this structure feels? Because while it wasn't good, putting us together, now pulling apart, there's going to be things that people are like, oh, this feels kind of strange, because I kind of got used to it in a little bit of a way.
Yeah. I think two things I'll say about that. First, in terms of like putting the two things together, obviously, I should have mentioned this at the beginning because I know we were talking about like what happened this year and some of that stuff. Like between 2020, 2024 and 2025, I came on the dive and talked about the GRP and the right sizing the ecosystem and all those things. And one of the goals was, as we got into like what 2025 was going to look like, what new opportunities came out, and that was what can we do across the Americas that is going to create something interesting, hopefully, for fans, that it's not just a consolidation or something. And that's where the cross-conference stuff came from. And we knew that there was going to be a competitive gap just looking historically at the records. And it was like, okay, full merger, are they just going to get crushed for a full year of regular season? If it's two conferences, what's going to look like? So there were a lot of models that were like looked at. And this felt like creating core touchstones felt like kind of the thing, and making sure they were beefy enough to hopefully help them level up. So like it was a very intentional choice to put the first event in Brazil and ship 4 North American teams to Brazil for 2 weeks to scrim in that environment and hopefully get more practice for them. And same way, the boot camp happened during MSI in North America with 3 of the teams who were not competing when Furia was playing at MSI. So like we were trying to be really intentional about like finding these opportunities to help them level up. And then
did you tell Impact to coach VKS?
No.
So they could beat 100 Thieves?
No. I will say, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but as a North American fan, I was like, what the hell, 100 Thieves? I was not happy about that.
For people who weren't paying attention, Seal, the VKS coach, tweeted out a picture with Impact and was like, yeah, thanks, Impact, for helping us out. which was kind of funny. Obviously, they also like credited like Screaming FlyQuest and stuff, a lot as well.
Yeah, I think to be fair as well for the South and Brazilian teams, like they worked really hard this year, so it's not just like Riot just lifted them up. I don't want that to be how it's sounding, but like we were trying to create opportunities for people to level up. But as I said, we started. I think that was in Split 2 when we were like, okay, we really need to change this more than just. The surface level Band-Aid fixes, and that's when we're like rolling the leagues back to what they had in 2024.
How is the residency thing going to work? Because there have been, a couple players going between regions, like Seos from Brazil came up to Shopify, and then I saw a tweet from Griffin, who was like an A player who went down to Brazil to compete. So how is that going to work? Is it still... Are you considered an import now if you're going between the two regions, or is that still not going to be the case?
That's one of the little details that can't quite share yet. But in terms of outcomes, like we don't want to punish any team or player who like made a decision based off a rule that existed for 2025. So like we'll figure out how to make sure that Seosh and if Griffin wants to stay in South/CBLOL for next year, like these things, like people aren't going to get punished in any way is one of the things that we'll do, and then making sure we do what makes the most sense for this future structure again. So we're not just constantly tweaking things, because if we were like, all right, let's just keep it for one more year and then roll it back, we don't want to do that. We just want to set the structure in place and try and keep it.
Well, with all these changes, how optimistic are you for next year? Because a lot of work is going to have to get done. Like you were saying, this can't be like a fluff, return to LCS. There's going to have to be a lot of like actual improvements. And I know you can't share a lot about the format or whatever, but what kind of like how optimistic are you about the some solid improvements? And
I'm pretty optimistic. I think there's a couple like little other things we're cooking on that we'll share when we can, that fans will be excited about.
Keep them coming, Mark.
Yeah, I know. So I'm like, oh God, I love leaking things. It's just so fun once you have the ability
to get a taste.
Yeah, once you get a taste. Obviously, there's like the final team that we'll be sharing. But I think there's a couple other things that fans have been asking for, and I think that is one of the things, like we said, we're in terms of going back and delivering what fans really want. That like. I think this will be one of those things, but we'll talk about it when we can. I've seen people's like expectations of what they were hoping for once like all the leaks started coming out, coming into finals weekend, and so some of those things on those lists, we'll get to them. That's the most I can say for right now, but I am confident. But like you said, I do think that there is a lot of work we need to do to like earn fans back, and that'll come through putting out a really good 2026, because obviously 2025. Sucked, as you said at the top. Like that was not what fans wanted. I didn't feel great about it. I think all of us have felt that across the year, knowing that fans were not jiving with it.
Yeah.
Are you bringing Double Lift back again?
Was me? Yeah. Like for my show, or as a pro player, or just any context?
He's a
pivotal
part of the LCS. He is a staple of the LCS. Is he coming back? A fifth unretirement.
As a pro player?
Sure.
You're asking me. I think he'll be back next year in some capacity.
Okay,
I don't know.
Great.
He's probably co-streaming, or I don't know what he's going to do.
Okay.
You're here with every weekend. You were hanging out with him in Dallas.
If you're asking for stuff, you should also be like, yo, I got Bjergsen's number. That would probably help too. We could saddle him up.
Yeah, let's bring them all back.
Yeah. Well, what was that thing called? This split one.
Near airport.
Yeah. Maybe they'll make a run again next year. Who knows?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mark. And we will look forward to more good news in the future. Another big part about the LCS coming back and having these real improvements and changes is gonna be awareness. So for the people that have stuck with the dive, through the changes. With Google and YouTube search engine and stuff, it actually hit the dive pretty hard as well when we did the switch. So help us in the comments. Be like, I'm so glad LCS is back. The dive is the best.
Smash the like button to help the algorithm. Every YouTube video I watch starts with
because we're gonna need to ride the wave of the announcement wave, like from now all the way until the beginning of next year. It's gonna probably get a lot more momentum the beginning of next year when things are actually changing and going back. But keep getting in there and spamming comments and stuff so we can, we can actually get back on track. And we're going to take a quick break, though, right now. We will be right back.
Ready, set, go!
I'm at 47%.
Oh, I'm on 63%.
Man, I'm at 50%.
Boom! 80%. Winner!
The Kia EV9 can go from 10% charge to 80% charge in just 24 minutes with DC fast charging.
Welcome back to The Dive, driven by Kia. Mark is going to stick around for the entire time because, as we said, he's just back to being a permanent host.
Yeah, back to analyzing teams, giving bad hot takes about performances.
Yeah, let's test those analyst skills that you have, Mark. How about the first match that we had on finals weekend, which was 100 Thieves versus VKS? How much is 100 Thieves collapsing, and how much was VKS improving after getting 3-0'd by FlyQuest, then getting coached by Impact and scrimming FlyQuest more as more info and stuff came out? Actually, a lot of credit to VKS, especially Trimby kept on coming on a bunch of our podcasts talking about how it was actually good for them to get that loss and kind of fueled their drive. But how was it experiencing that 100 Thieves losing to VKS?
I mean, I'll be honest. I wanted 100 Thieves to win. I was sad. There's an NA fan in me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it's both. Even though that's not the hot take, saying it's a little bit of both. Mm-hmm. I think VKS played below their level versus FlyQuest the first time, where they were just seemed either really scared on stage or just out of their comfort zone for whatever reason. They were better the second time around. I also think 100 Thieves did not have their best games. I think Dhokla struggled a little bit. His Akali was
ooh, he definitely did.
Yeah.
Okay,
FBI was
that game though. Dhokla was a giga victim. I'll actually defend him because watching that, it seemed like he was pretty tilted. And if you put yourself in his shoes, it was such a disgusting
the Akali
situation
game
for him. Yeah, because okay, so you're giving Gwen, which she's been nerfed a lot. I don't think she's that OP. She's really exploitable in lane, right? So they pick the Akali into it, which is. It's a slightly offbeat counter pick. It's not completely original. It is a known bad matchup for Gwen, but it's not a common thing people pick, right? And I think a lot of top laners also probably don't play a lot of Akali, so it's it's kind of you want to prove yourself kind of pick. It's I can pull off this off meta pick, and I know Dhokla plays her a lot. And the lane was actually going really, really well for him, right? He gets a solo kill at level 4. He's up 20 CS, gets Gwen into a spot where he literally can't walk up in lane, and then Dhokla is just freezing his lane, probably saying something okay, this guy can't lane, which in pro play is a pretty big advantage when the guy cannot walk up to XP at all. And then Boal goes on a pilgrimage from top lane and walks all the way through, and then 100 Thieves just does this completely disgusting play in the jungle where, the idea behind it was good. They recognized that Trundle flashed the Baron Wall level 1 to steal the red, and they had this 15-second window where they could kill him before his flash was up, which honestly is when a lot of plays happen because the person starts feeling safe knowing their summoner's coming up soon. You get them right before it. But they just butchered it so unbelievably hard. It was Maokai, I think he Q'd Trundle the wrong way, and Alistair went for a Q flash, then couldn't get the headbutt. And it just ended up being such a disgusting play execution-wise. And then Gwen was just there. Quid ulted in for fun
through the middle of them.
Yeah, and just died. And so then imagine your Dhokla. It's okay, my laner can't lane, and all of a sudden he just roams and my team feeds him. It's okay, you know what? We've all played solo queue. That happens, whatever. And then Dhokla still is level 8 to level 6, huge lead in bot lane. Lulu TP's in to help him crash the wave. And so you're just okay, I guess we're getting grubs. Whatever, their support's here. The wave crashes. Then on the next wave, he decides to take a trade on Gwen, and then Lulu's still there for a solid minute and just chunks him out to 1 HP when he has no TP. And then from there, it just kept getting worse because you're in this matchup where you have to get a lead. You want to keep this guy behind, and then he's getting so much help. Your team is also helping him, and so it's just holy, you could kind of see Dhokla's place after that looked a little mental boom. He forced some really questionable ults. He went in 2v3 top, suicide. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to defend the bad plays, but I totally get why it'd be tilting, because it's like, you're in this hard matchup, you're outplaying the guy, you have the big lead, and just no one wants to help you.
And he still came up with what I thought at the time was the game-saving play, the play at the end on bottom side, where they basically lose the team fight at the Dragon, but they're just like, all right, well, we have no options except still full sending and fighting our way back. And Dhokla like comes through and he kills like 3 more people to what I thought was saving the game. But then we go from the replay of that, it comes back and they're at Baron. I'm like, whoa. And they got Baron. And I almost was like peeking even more.
Yeah.
And I was like, is it the real? And then they all just get,
killed
there, and then they lose.
Dude, I feel like I missed it because I was still watching the replay and then thinking about it. I'm getting like so hyped for game 5. I'm like, hell yeah, we're getting it. And then you come back 5-0 aced. Like literally 5-0. Yeah. This feels like whenever I see fights like that, it just reminds me of, NA teams internationally, because I don't know what it is, but we always have this moment of like games will feel close and then you just get completely blown out in a fight where it's like no one in the other team even took damage and all of us are dead. And that's what happened. I was just like, wait a minute. That's not what was supposed to happen.
It was definitely crazy because I was rewatching the replay a couple times. And they definitely like overstayed in the bot lane trying to get like tier 2, even tier 3 turret or something. And then they go for the Baron as well. And it's just like, it was so sad to see that just overreach and greed of being like, we're back. I imagine the team comms were like, we're back in it. But like, even they were probably thinking a little bit about game 5. I have to imagine that they were feeling themselves.
Okay, the thing is, this kind of thing happens so often. Like when you have a team comp like 100 Thieves where you're playing double assassins basically with Yone Akali, and then you're up against like a Trundle team comp, you don't front to back this comp, right? Mm-hmm. It's like you have to fight in really specific ways. The times where 100 Thieves won fights, it was off of getting clever angles or, catching the other team when they're not in formation. I think there was like one fight in 100 Thieves red buff jungle, where they were able to like, I think they got Lulu to like use her ult on Trundle or something, and then Lulu died, and then all of a sudden you have a Yunara who doesn't have her enchanter, and then it was just like a really messy fight, and they kind of got wiped there. Mm-hmm. And then so like all the fights that were going well for 100 Thieves were these kind of like scrappy fights or whatever. But then I see this happen so often where the team who's playing this setup that needs to come from flanks, needs to like get on the back line, as soon as you start winning, you think, okay, we just win the game. We can do whatever we want now. We're just going to start Baron and let them engage on us. And it's like, wait a minute, that's not how your team comp works. You actually just get destroyed if you try taking just this standard fight where you just walk at them front to back. And I can only imagine that's what happened. I don't even like remember how the fight went down. I just remember coming back from the replay and seeing them all dead and being like, wait a minute.
Yeah. If you trap yourself inside a consolidated area, aka Baron Pit, then you're losing a lot of the advantages that you had previously. When you started talking about Dhokla, though, I thought you were going to talk about earlier in the series.
Well, that's what I meant when I said
the Cassante game.
Yeah, the Cassante game was a struggle, and like I thought, I think the Akali game was good overall, but like each member, like game 4, even though Quid ended up fed and kind of like the hope of the team, he did have a lot of those questionable ones. He also had like a fight near Dragon, and so like it just felt like there wasn't a point in time really where the whole team was playing well together, which I think was kind of what exemplified their run up until that point. Was like Dhokla comes in, king of good vibes, FBI suddenly playing like the best AD carry in the league almost, Quid and River are back, and like it felt like that just wasn't there on Saturday.
Yeah, I was gonna say FBI definitely had some rough ones.
Yeah.
Some certainly rough ones as well.
Yeah, and a lot of that comes down to, I think, like one of the things that you don't really think about when you get to the end of tournaments is like, who are these teams practicing against? And we know that Vivo Keyd was playing against FlyQuest, which is really good practice, but maybe FlyQuest wasn't opting to scrim 100 Thieves as much because they were expecting to play them in the finals, right? And I think nowadays it's slightly different due to Fearless. And like before Fearless, your draft priority was a very important thing coming into matches where it's like, what are you going to pick when everything's open? What comps are you likely to play? With Fearless, it's a lot more open. So maybe it doesn't matter as much, but either way, it felt to me like 100 Thieves might have not been scrimming against as strong of teams because they were doing a lot of just disrespectful stuff. Like I was talking about going front to back with a dive comp kind of deal rather than going for angles. But even in game 1, I thought that that very first dragon play where they started getting behind was just a super disrespectful setup. It was like 100 Thieves was blue side. They were trying to do dragon while not having vision. So Vivo Keyd had a pink ward in the banana bush, like that bush kind of in the middle of river. And then 100 Thieves like tried to have Lucian connect with his team at the dragon, but there's just an Ahri sitting on a pink there and he just gets charm flash and dies. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, what did you think was going to happen, right? It's like, that is such a cursed way to start a fight. It's like, if it wasn't FBI getting charm flash there, then someone else would have, right? It's like, you can't continue having mid push and hit the dragon at the same time. Like, they basically cut you off from connecting with your team, which is such a bad way to start a fight. And so to me, that just felt like 100 Thieves was disrespecting their opponent or something, because like, I think every pro team knows, like, you should probably have vision of that bush. It's like, at least know they're not in there, not like give them vision of it, and they're all going to be standing there, and you pull the dragon. So it was just like some really weird stuff going on.
So for that one in particular, I remember it clearly because I was casting and I was like, ooh, this is really smart. Ayla has spellbooked over to cleanse. So Ayla is going to be the one moving up and getting the vision. So, and he has cleanse spellbooked over ready. He's Rakan, super mobile. And I'm like, oh, perfect. Setting this up. This is going to be so smart. He's going to cleanse it off. They're going to get the vision. They're going to have good positioning. But then, like, he moves down more in river, and FBI, like you're saying, like moves up close, like by this brush, and they hit the charm flash, and I was like, oh, dang. Well, he doesn't have cleanse. I don't think that's how that was supposed to go.
No, that one felt especially bad because there was just. I think that was the turning point in that game. I will say, I think Vivo Keyd did play pretty well. I was impressed with Dismiss and Miru in particular for like knowing that Quid and River are part of the engine for 100 Thieves. Excuse me. It felt like not like shut down, but I was watching one of the co-streams. I don't remember if it was you or Dom or who said it, but like someone was like, one of the things that is good against River is to like challenge him early and like don't let him do the crazy stuff, like throw your own crazy stuff at him and not give him like that kind of ramp up to just like be level 3 in your jungle, level 2 invades, the stuff he does. And I thought like the flash over the Baron wall as an example. I think there was some other stuff in the earlier games too where like they were willing to scrap it out early and do weird things to River as well and not just like play passively like they did in the FlyQuest series.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me, what this series showed was it almost made me more impressed with Busio, even though like, he wasn't playing, but it was the fact that, so I mean, this goes back to the dive we had with Takeshi last week, where he was saying that Trimby's such a like big part of this team, and against FlyQuest, he just looked so invisible. The first time they played, he looked like he was completely outclassed, right? He wasn't really doing anything. He looked lost. And I don't think that's because he's a bad player or anything. I think it's just because Busio gapped him. But in this series, he looks so much better. It really showed kind of like the strengths, I thought, especially his Nautilus game. He had like a ton of good fights.
The blind hook on the Aurora too was
and I mean, there was another one where they were like pushing the tier 2 mid and FBI stepped up a little bit. And then Trimby just like no hesitation, flash queued him. Knew he was going to die for it, but it just starts the fight. And it's like, okay, you need that killer instinct to be a good support. You need to know that's like, okay, it's just your whole goal is start a good fight. It does not matter if you die. Like, if you trade yourself for one of their carries, that is 100% an amazing trade. Do it every single time. And so I thought it definitely made Trimby look a lot better. And then obviously when they played FlyQuest again, I think he didn't look as good once again. And then so it just kind of...
Except for the Nico game. He had a really good Nico game versus FlyQuest. The like Nico Nocturne comp. I thought that one he played really well in.
Yeah, I guess we can just jump into the next series then, because I thought, like, I think I've probably said this on the dive a lot, but to me, Nocturne is always the best champ to play if you're up against a team that is just stronger than you, because he neutralizes so much of the... Like, one thing you get for being a better team is, like, you get the lane prio, you push in the lanes, and then you get vision control. It's like you can defend your wards better, you can have control over space better. Nocturne invalidates that, right? It's like he just turns off the lights, all your vision control doesn't matter, and then he just kind of, like, jumps at you from off screen and kills you. And so it was that, and then Nocturne plus Nico especially is just a super obnoxious combo because it's like Nico on her own already is kind of hard to track or engage because she's disguised as somebody else and sprinting around invisible and then flash rocket belting you, and then all of a sudden you have to react to that without vision of her at all. And so I did really like this comp from Vivo Keyd. I think they played it well, but it was also like I just thought it was a really good approach to, you know, being against a stronger opponent. It's like, you know, draft these things that's like kind of limits counterplay. I think Orianna Nocturne's another really common combo you see with Nocturne for that, because it's like you just both press R on somebody and it's like you can't react to it. You just get Orianna ulted with a Nocturne. So I thought that was really cool to see. And then also this was one of the most criminal games we've seen from FlyQuest in a long time. They're kind of like the stable team. You don't see them just grief games, but this was for sure an exception. It was like Quad on his early laning phase was playing super weird, right? It was like he took a really, really aggressive trade with Akali, which would have been good, except he took a turret shot. And then he had the opportunity to recall after the third wave to get his tier, which is really normal. Opts to stay, which isn't good for Orianna, and then just dies to a Nocturne gank and blows his flash for fun. And then then there's like the river fight where Nocturne like gets 6 off the crab, kills Busio, and then Inspired just kind of looked tilted the entire series. He was just like for fun ulting everybody. And he looked kind of checked out. Blippo on his Renekton. Also, he just like couldn't do anything. He was just pushed in by Nara the entire game. So I thought this was like a very uncharacteristically poor performance from FlyQuest, and it's like you don't see them look like this very often.
No, what was the final score? Like 18-2 or something for this game?
22-2.
22-2, God. Yeah, it just felt like the wheels came off pre-10 minutes, and then they were just kind of like, all right, let's go game 4. Because like the Busio recovering mid lane, it felt like he was trying to do like roams or something to help after the initial death to the Nocturne gank. And then because those also failed, it just was like, all right, get me out of here a little bit.
I mean, it was a really weird game as well because, you know, obviously FlyQuest drafted the like Ezreal Karma bot lane, which is a very strong early lane. And then Vivo Keyd was matching it because, you know, you don't really want to swap Gnar into that. And Jhin was so behind. It was like he was like 30, 40 CS down in lane, and then he started being River Jhin. He wasn't laning. He was just doing like it feels like what you would do if you're like an autofilled tilted AD carry in solo queue, where you're just like, you know, I'm done. I'm not laning anymore. I'm just gonna run around.
Yeah, I'm gonna go gank people.
Yeah, and it was working. It was the crazy part. It was like it actually was working. They were getting kills and their plays were working, and so I could totally see from FlyQuest's perspective how they're just like we're losing to these guys who are like not playing seriously at all, just because we're trolling too hard. So
I can almost guarantee that Inspired was mega tilted in that game and like pissed, because you know, like when his teammates make mistakes, he like does get you know pretty pissed. And the first one, the mid gank, that one was insane to me that worked at all. That was well after like that is full clear time for like every champ in the game for sure. And Quad doesn't even like hover down to Inspired side, the bottom side of the lane or anything. He's just like straight up in middle with like 300 HP. And then, as you say, he flashes from one side of Nocturne to the other side of Nocturne. So
Nocturne and Akali both didn't flash.
Yeah, so you don't even have to use your like. Usually on Nocturne, you're like, okay, I'm gonna early flash so that my tether will stand range no matter what, and they can't break it even if they flash off of. But if you're flashing from one side of the champ to the other side of the champ, it's not gonna break the tether. And then he dies also, and I was like, I think I even said on cast, if I'm the jungler, I'm already like tilted.
I think you did.
You see that on screen too.
Yeah, I'm already like tilted because like what? And then the second play, this is definitely still credit to Desamis, but also it is like one of the most common, you know, experience breakpoints of double full clears into the second scuttle crab gets you level 6. And I already didn't think FlyQuest should go contest that dragon into the river, but that's the one where they have Busio, you know, and by mid, and they're kind of like, I don't know if you're just like calling as like a try and save mid play or a try and like go walk around dragon and see what happens type of play, like, and find out. But the scuttle crab is on bottom side, so they're walking in, they take a bad trade, and Nocturne just gets his level 6 off the scuttle crab. The last time they saw him, to be fair, Nocturne was level 5, so maybe they're like, he has no ult, but you know he did 2 full clears into a second Scuttle Crab, and then Busio flashes, and the Nocturne ult follows you.
Yeah, I think what I was guessing was they might have misjudged his XP because he like got the mid kill as well. So I think that's one of those things where it's like, maybe they were making the reads like, okay, we can slow fight this because they're really weak. Nocturne shouldn't get 6 off this, but then it's like, wait, he got that like kill XP from mid or whatever. Because I don't know what his CS is. Maybe he would have got it without it, but that was in my head. Because it did seem really weird to contest that because like Ezreal was bottom. Like that was when Jhin was doing his like, River Jhin thing where he just kind of like ditched bot for a super long time. So I think part of it was just like, let's mess with them. Let's like make this Jhin lose even more. But then obviously like, they got burned for it. So
all right.
wasn't great.
I'll say this. Game 3, not the best, but come on. The rest of the series, we've been talking about one bad game out of FlyQuest. I got to say, they were pretty incredible the rest of the series and like absolutely lived up to the rest of the hype that they've been getting.
We have to be hard on them, Mark, because they are our, for sure, like all my eggs are in the FlyQuest basket.
Dude,
our hopes for them at International are so high. So we're like strict parents.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
that's true. We did kind of harp on it a bit, but to me, it was just really interesting because it's so rare for that to happen, right? It's like FlyQuest is so consistent. I don't know if we've had a team in NA that's this consistent before. It's like we've had good teams, but a lot of the good teams will just like randomly lose. But FlyQuest is just, they haven't been that team. They have been so consistently strong. And yeah, I mean, like all their other games basically were just extremely one-sided against Vivo Keyd. It was like, they just kind of, I think they showed that graphic on screen where it was like, if FlyQuest is ahead at 14 minutes, the record is 40-1.
Yeah.
It's like, that's crazy.
I mean, yeah, even the historic runs of like NA teams in the past, like this is on that like TSM 2018 level or like the Immortals 2016 level where like just complete domination of the region. And then with a strong ending as well, where like they dropped 1 game in both finals, their conference against 100 Thieves and then this one. So like I was very happy to see them still playing well. Game 4 in particular was like a little bit closer. Still kind of dominant, but like that play with like the Busio Bard saving quad after the Zonias, like the timing on that was nuts. Like some of the highlight plays out of
the Urgot was really cool that game as well, because the last time we saw Urgot was a game that we want to forget with the that was the Zillion game.
Of the things to remember, every time I watch the dive, by the way, it's always like, will Kobe get triggered by remembering Masu standing out of the bush or the Zillion or whatever. So I don't know if this
what is funny is the most triggering thing to me about that whole series versus BLG at MSI. By the way, I'm sure everybody is used to this spiel by now.
Yeah.
The most triggering thing is that if they hadn't thrown game 3 where they had outscaled already and they were at Nexus and they were at BLG's Nexus and then they like overdive and they split and they don't finish, we would have never had to see that game 5. And we would never be exposed to those.
I'm definitely more upset about that for sure as well. The not ending the game that you've already won correctly kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to relive it any more than we already.
They're going to do better at Worlds.
I think focusing on the Urgot is a lot cooler because I actually predicted Urgot here during the draft, which like it feels good when it's like you predict the weird pick, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, it wasn't like super out of left field. He needed an AD pick, and I don't know if it's still the case, but I know on stat sites usually, like I was always confused. I'm like, what do you pick into Jax if it's not Gragas? Because that's the classic. It's like enemy blind picks Jax, you pick Gragas. You don't necessarily like stomp him, but he has a terrible time, right? It's just like such an obnoxious matchup to play Jax into. But another really good one is Urgot, because Urgot is a champion that I think he takes like a lot of games to actually play well, because I mean, he's very unique for one. Like the way he works is super weird.
Toggling your purge and then still weaving in auto attacks. Like
I mean that, and then also he has like one of the strangest power curves of any champion, where he's like fairly strong level 1 against melees. The people do the like Doran Blades start where you like walk behind the minions and like E the guy and just one shot him. But then he's kind of weak afterwards. It's like not weak enough to be bullied, but he won't really like bully you. But then he spikes extremely hard at level 13 on 2 items, Gangplank-esque in that way, but then he falls off again. And so he's like just this insanely strong mid-game 2-item champion. And I think Whippo got so much out of that this game. It was like early game, he was actually getting camped pretty hard, and he navigated it well, right? It was like he didn't really need to get babysat. He played safe, avoided the ganks, and then mid game, he just went absolutely insane. He had like a pretty funny flash in 1v2 bot lane.
The bot lane one, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, that's what I like to see, that aggression. It's like, granted, it didn't really work that time, but...
Well, the top river one is an example, too, of just like, it's one of those plays where you're like, you're just running at them. Is that a real play? And he just kept mowing people down and putting everyone down to half HP, basically by himself. And, and so
I mean, that part was crazy when he had like, just 2 items and a Warden's Mail, and he like does that play where he's just... Because I think this was an amazing situation for FakeGod as well, because like... Vivo Keyd's team comp was like 5 fairly squishy champions that, they don't have that much.
pretty
CC
short
for
range.
them. Yeah, exactly. So this is like the ideal situation for FakeGod because he does not do well when he's outranged. If it was like a hyper carry late game situation where he's trying to like get through a big front line, and there's like a 4-item Jinx beating his ass, then that's not going to work out too well for him. But this game was a great situation for him, and it's really cool to just see those the off meta picks get played to their strengths. Right? It's like he knew what he needed to do, and he capitalized on his strength really well.
And it was very much Bwipo. It's quintessential Bwipo because as he's talked about it so much that as soon as he finished his Sterix Gauge for the 2-item power spike, I was like, all right. Sterix Gauge is done. Bwipo is going to throw himself into the team, and really make use of that because he just loves as soon as he gets his Sterix Gauge.
I mean, it's also like at level 13, the cooldown on each leg for FakeGod it peaks at 2.5 seconds, and because like early game it's super long cooldown. I don't know, like probably close to 20 per leg. And then I think at like 11, it's 5 seconds. Then 13, it's 2.5. So at that point, it's like, you're just spamming those things everywhere. So he just spikes so hard. But then, later on, he has issues with like his damage falls off a little bit. He's not tanky enough to survive full build carries.
His range is kind of awkward.
Yeah, his range sucks.
You're basically like late game. I hope someone else on my team chunks them so I can ult and flash here.
Well, you have to like E flash as well. You can do some weird looking
the disjoint their flashback. Yeah. Get some singed action in there. Yeah. But I thought overall, FlyQuest lived up to the hype. They delivered, and as a small tangent, I also thought the event was incredible. The crowd was crazy. I thought FanFest was really good this year. There was a lot of stuff for people to do. I don't know. I think overall it was a really fun weekend.
Dude, I loved going to Dallas. I've not been to Dallas. I mean, I'll say with an asterisk, 'cause like maybe I've been before. Some family vacation.
Someone of his benders doesn't remember where he is.
Not quite that. But this is the first time going to Dallas in recent memory. And it was super cool, right? It was like, I know generally what I had heard about Texas was it was like, most people talk about Austin as being like the hub, right? It's like there's a lot of cool stuff there. And then people talk about Dallas being like, oh yeah, it's like a lot more rural and stuff. But so I went in kind of with no expectations, but it was super, super nice. It's like I actually met up with some of my people in my WoW guild that I've known for years who live nearby. And like I went over to their house, hung out. We went out for food, and one day we went to like some pizza place that just happened to be during Oktoberfest, was like happening right in that center. And so it was just like such a vibe. It's like, dude, Texas Oktoberfest, like everyone's just walking around with like their huge
steins of beer.
There's huge steins of beer, and there's just like music and all this stuff going on. So it was just like a really awesome vibe, and the people there were just super friendly as well. We got to see a cop riding around on a horse with police lights on the horse. It was just like, that is so Texas. People were really like warm and friendly at the event as well. It was a huge turnout. A lot of people showed up, and a lot of them were local. So I would love to go back there sometime.
And you remembered this time. You've actually been before at Oktoberfest in Texas, and you just forgot because you blacked out from all the beer stuff.
No, we'll have to put the test like next time we're in Dallas or Texas. Be like, Medios, do you remember 3 years ago that you went for the 2025?
He's got it locked in now.
He's gonna black out LTA, baby.
There's video evidence. No, I definitely agree. The vibes were so good. I especially had so many fans coming up, and this is multiple live events in a row. I've had so many fans coming up being like, I'm a long-term viewer of the dive. I watch every week. I love the dive. And I was like, it feels so cool because you were kind of mentioning before earlier on in the show that there's some people that continue to watch, competitive esports that don't necessarily even still play the game, like for other games as well. But there have been so many people that are like, yeah, League's too tilting. I don't even play it really much anymore, but I watch all the time. And they were just like really good vibes. Everybody was super, happy to be there and excited. So the live events are what really like makes you feel the community.
We haven't done like a full dive cast meet and greet. I usually do it through like C9 or something. So we'll have to set one of those up next event or something, just meet all the long-term dive fans.
So we have done in the past, like at FanFest, we did live dives and like live shows and stuff. So we could do like a little combo thing.
I'm sure the producers are listening to this right now, like, oh god, they're signing us up for some 2026 stuff.
Well, we did a live dive.
I only said a meet and greet.
We did a live one, but it was with it was like the MVP interview with Inspired, so it had to be its own special thing. But yeah, the community things are always like that's what's always been the best part of this job for me, at least, is going and feeling all the energy of a full stadium of just all video gamers that are all super passionate about the same thing. And it just makes you feel so at home and makes it feel so important what we're doing.
Yeah, definitely. I think like seeing people in their full cosplay outfits, they're like, you could feel like this was the moment they've been waiting for probably years to like go and show their full pride of being a League fan and stuff. So I definitely agree that getting out on the road is really cool.
Yeah, I mean that was definitely going to go down as like one of my favorite events that I've been to. That was great. We've got some promo relegation coming up as well.
We do.
Which, I'm not going to lie, I didn't even realize that it was coming up this fast because like I knew it was a thing that was going to happen, right? It's like that's the idea with the guest slot, going back to the kind of our roots with LCS, where I think it's really cool to like integrate tier 2 teams with the pros, because one thing that I always love is it's like, maybe you're DSG and you are like the last place pro team and you're not really beating other teams, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad team, right? It might mean you're not as good as all the other pro teams, but you might still be better than all the amateur teams. And so I think these relegation matches are a really cool opportunity to show it's like, okay, maybe DSG just stomps all the other competition. So it's like they deserve to be there in the pro scene. And I think to their credit, they ramped up a lot this year. Yeah. And toward the end, I mean, they took C9 to 5 games, right? It's like they've improved a ton. So I would love to see them continue their LCS journey and stay in the league. But it's like, you got to earn your spot. There's 5 teams that are going to be playing in the tournament. And, walk us through that, Mark, as the commissioner. Walk us through this format. What do we have to look forward to?
So it's actually not far away. When this episode comes out, it'll be Thursday. Then on Saturday the 4th, so 2 more days after this episode comes out, is when it officially starts with the play-ins, which will be the 2 second seeds from NACL and LRN, which are the tier 2s of North America and Latin America North. And I think what's really cool is everything you just said. And I think it's also, even for teams that don't win, like having this extra stage of play to like show off and have more eyeballs on you, which like I think is sadly the case where like a lot of people are not tuning into tier 2. Even like scouts and pro teams is not always the best. And when you give extra opportunities for some of these pro players to like go out and pop off and have a good series and like get those eyeballs, it goes a long way. And like you said, a lot of the names are well known. So obviously DSG is defending their spot. I'm going to assume they're the favorite based off that kind of level up that you were talking about. But like Luminosity, the number 1 seed from NACL, is FakeGod, Tomio, Insanity, Tactical, Zazel. 5 former LCS players. So like a very good team. Estral, who's actually the 2nd seed coming out of LRN. Summit, Solid, Cody, Ghost, and Winsome. So again, a handful of tier 1 players, world champions. It's pretty crazy when you look at that. Like Cody was even playing in LTA South this in Split 1. If people remember him from there, like he's been around. These are very good players. So like I think it it will be a very fun time for people to tune in and watch how this goes down.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And it starts off with some remote play, but it even is going to have a big LAN in Mexico City for the grand finals. So that's another really cool part. You're talking about like elevating it and getting eyeballs and stuff. It also gives experience of like traveling to do basic like an international.
Yeah.
It feels like really elevated and having a grand finals like that. As far as the teams and who's going to win and stuff, I would even bump up your guys like improvement for DSG into like to the moon basically, because the whole weekend, and when you're talking about who are these teams scrimming, I was talking about FlyQuest, I was talking 100 Thieves, they're all scrimming DSG. DSG has been in overdrive. They have just been scrimming nonstop since LTA, and from all of these teams, which are the top of the LTA with FlyQuest and everything, they're saying, yeah, DSG are good. DSG are very good. And so I'm like, whoa, okay. My predictions, without even watching any of the other teams, I'm like, I have a lot of faith in DSG after having like FlyQuest and all these other teams say, yes, they're really good scrim partners. Stuff. I'm just like that on top of the improvements that they already showed on stage. I think that DSG is for sure. They already were going to be the team to beat, but they're for sure going to be the team to beat. One of the other ones that's fun though of the teams that you guys didn't mention the players was Conviction, because they have a lot of content creators and people that have some of them have been controversial content creators. So I feel like that team's gonna have a lot of fans, but also a decent amount of haters, and people love to hate watch as well. It's one of the exciting things about promo Relegation 2 is it is as intense, or in some cases more intense, than a lot of the international tier 1 play, because there are futures riding on this. And so there are so much as far as like the stakes of these games and the possibilities of what can happen for these players and for these teams. And so it's just a very exciting time.
Yeah, I mean, I think, definitely Conviction is like the streamer team. I think all those dudes stream with like, pretty good viewership as well. Like they're all very good at solo queue. And for me, I think the most like, granted, I don't know a whole lot about the teams coming from the South, so I could be like totally caught off guard with them. But Luminosity, the team with all the ex-LCS players, actually did insanely well in Tier 2 this year. I think they were like 16-2, and they 3-0'd Conviction in the finals. So that's the team with, FakeGod, Tomio Insanity, Tactical and Zazel that we mentioned. And so I think they actually, if I was DSG, I'd be pretty worried about them, because they all have LCS experience, and then they also are going to have a ton of confidence and momentum because they like just dominated the Tier 2 scene so hard. So, I mean, I think that can be a very real thing. I only ever played in promotion the very first time that C9 made it in. Like, I've never had to be, like, thankfully, one of these teams that's like having to defend your spot. Like, the amount of nerves going into that must be so unreal, because it's like, it was one thing for us when it was like, we were just amateurs, and it's like, okay, if we win, we're pro players, and if not, then like whatever, go back to school or something. But these guys are pro players, and they have to win this to still be pro players. So it's like, damn, that is like the highest stakes ever. It's like your 0 LP or something before they had like the division protection. It's like, if you win, then you just have a sigh of relief, and if you lose, then your world shatters around you. So it's like, it's crazy stakes for DSG.
Yeah, my first coaching job, the way I got into the scene, I was working with Curse right between 2013 and 14 when they got relegated to play in the series. And I just remember being like, well, if they lose, I don't have a job, and I have to figure out what I'm doing with my life. And if they win, like, might be moving out to LA and going across the country to have a career. So like, yeah, it's crazy what like these matches can mean. I definitely look forward to seeing more of DSG based off what I didn't know the rumors that they were doing super well in scrims, and like, the C9 series wasn't just like a fluke or like they temporarily stepped up. They really did look a lot better. And looking forward to formats that don't kick them out too early, so they can prove it more.
It's one of the bonuses for teams that still have stuff left in the calendar, because a lot of the teams that don't have stuff left in the calendar, then they'll either players will be on break or other stuff will happen, and so the teams that end up getting to the end of tournaments, some of the best teams are like, well, who's going to be around to scrim us? And if you're the team that's like, oh, we'll do it, we're here, then you get a lot of really good practice as well. Plus, of course, we saw the evolution of that team on stage as well. Really think they incorporated their additional players quite effectively. But I think that is going to do it for us.
One quick shameless self-plug for me. I'll be co-streaming these matches, like the promotion ones, all of them that I can. So that'll be at twitch.tv/Meteos, where I stream all the LCS games as well. So, just in case people aren't familiar.
Big fan, by the way. Favorite co-streamer.
Thank you. I'm sure you watch it.
All right, so I will say I don't watch you guys live because I'm watching usually the main broadcast and like looking for notes.
There you have it.
Hey,
he admitted it.
What, that I don't watch you?
Yeah. No, I just cut you off before you made your point.
It's like, but I watch every streamer's cutdowns. So I'll watch Dom's, Sneaky's. I'm always.
So what you're saying is you also have TikTok brain and you can't handle a full length video.
Well, watching multiple 2-day long 5 hours per stream like VODs. I can't do that, but I can watch those while cooking. 2x speed.
Well, there you go. Thank you for tuning into The Dive. That's going to wrap it up for us here on The Dive, driven by Kia. Remember, if you are watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment about the dive being back and LCS being back,
baby.
Just people that don't know is like, oh well. The dive actually was gone too, but now we're really back. Oh my God, isn't that crazy?
Tell your friends, tell your parents, put up some flyers around town. LCS is back.
And
watch the dive.
Meteos Twitch TV. He also has a WoW separate stream where he streams M pluses. I even tune into that one sometimes. I'm a real fan.
That is true. That's the low key one. We do have that.
The no cam, no mic, late at night mythic grind.
But check us.
Mic, no cam. No.
Check us out on wherever you get podcasts, Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. The LTA promotion tournament that we were just talking about begins October 4th, 1 p.m. PST, as Conviction takes on Astral Esports. See you there.
See you there.
You guys are gonna be there, right?